we again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, just plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Benny,
Hello.
how are you? You childish man.
I honestly, as I saw that thumbnail again with the sausages, I had like this flashback to this dog when I was younger that used to say sausages. And I thought I could have managed to find that out on the internet somewhere and I could have put him in. Does anyone remember this dog that used to say sausages? Anyway, right, let's just keep it serious because this is a serious podcast. Maybe the thumbnail doesn't sort of ooze seriousness, but we are here to talk about the Gran Canaria PWA IWT World Cup in Pozo. I have just come back. I'm absolutely knackered. I feel like I was lying on the floor last night and the dog just come up and snuggled up next to me and I was lying there singing, oh, this is nice. It's quite nice to be home. So we're going to talk about the World Cup. We're going to talk about Slalom X because Slalom X is obviously the new discipline that was introduced in Gran Canaria. What did you think of it? Obviously, the obstacles, the infamous sausage. We're going to talk about Sausage Gate. For anyone who doesn't know about Sausage Gate, we're going to explain later. But we are going to take the wave sailing as well. You know, Marcilia Brown going out early, the different format. There's so much to cover in this podcast. And also what we're thinking of, we've only just decided this, so it might work, might not. We might put the link so any of you that want to have your say on sausages or the PWA or Slalom X or whatever can basically come on. Now, you haven't got infinite time. We're going to give you a cutoff and we might just cut you off at any point, so don't be upset. But you will get your chance to put your point across, maybe have a little discussion, maybe not. Depends if we like you or not. So there we go.
I like
that
it.
Is the podcast.
Paul Van Bellen. Some fan interaction. You know, is your connection all right? Is it
Pozo Gran Canaria from a distance? What was your take?
Mm-hmm. Well, before I go on, is the connection okay? Are you not too much of a delay?
I have no clue till I start talking with you. You're fuzzing out a bit, but
yeah, okay. Oh well, we'll just press on. Hope for the best. Before I go on, I just want to say that 10 minutes ago I was having a shower and I was thinking 35 years ago I was standing on a beginner windsurf board on a lake in Sydney. And in 2024, I never would have imagined that I'd see my picture on a thumbnail with sausages around my neck while I'm doing a podcast of Mr. Windsurfing. I never would have guessed that, Benny. So thanks for that.
You know, yes. Well, you know, times are getting on. And I did actually say this to someone else, Nico Preen has got, hurts me to say this, the biggest YouTube channel in windsurfing. So he is picking up all the guys that want to talk seriously about windsurfing. We're just picking up the rest of you guys. So, maybe there's a little crossover. We haven't got the same numbers, but I know the passion on the channel is there. But if you want seriousness, if you don't want to, we are quite immature on this channel, and I have to concede to that. That's what keeps me young. Like people say, wow, you're 46. I didn't realize. I'm like, well, yeah, it's probably because I'm so immature. So I'm going to say it like that. That's why me and Paul get on. So I know he gets some grief about some of the stuff he posts, but we can't all be the same. So the Nico Preen channel, the Windsurfing.TV channel, they're the same but different, There is a huge delay.
No, that's it. Yeah, no, it is. I'm just wondering, is it your end, do you think, Benny? Is your connection okay?
I'm pretty sure mine's good. Let's ask the comments before we go any further, because this is a podcast. We're not going to get straight to the point, but we will. But firstly, just let me know in the comments who's looking the crisper. I've got a new office. I don't know if you noticed. I come back from Pozo and Vilma had just rearranged the whole thing. I've even got cabinets. Look at this. I've even got plants. This might change, but we are going to talk about Slalom X. But just let us know, because it'd be good to sort the connection out before we go any further, because this could be an hour long, this chat, And if you've been following the podcast before, it could actually go longer. Then look sharp. Well, I mean, there we go. Paul, very slow and blurry. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's your end.
Well,
actually, super good.
What I'll do, if you just keep talking, I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna lose him. See if he can reset his router. Yeah, we're going to leave him for a bit. Okay, so we will be. I'm going to go through some of the comments while Paul seems to try and set up his thing. There we go. Let's have a look at the comments. Who have we got here? We've got Anne Crow. Super X is fantastic. Slalom X, just get it right. But we need to remember that it needs Pozo wins 6 meters or smaller. The sausage is king. Foil is better as soon as the wind is a bit lighter. And I think you've got to remember that will be the case. Like the Slalom X is only going to go to windy places. So Fuerteventura is next. It's windy in Fuerteventura. I think the Slalom X will still be good on 7.0. 7.0 is, these boys are holding on to 7.0s for a good amount of time. And again, this is all the stuff that is getting looked at. Are you back? Are you all ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Is that good?
It is actually a bit better.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, let's run with that. Hopefully that stays that way. Anyway, right. Where were we, Benny?
Well, yeah, I'm just going through the comments. I was just going to say Slalom X. I think from what I can understand, the comments I've got, I haven't seen many negative comments. There were a few at the beginning saying they didn't like the sausage or the obstacle to jump over. But I think the sausage won over a few people as time went on, because it did add that little bit of jeopardy. But I still have heard it's not like 100% everyone's all in on the sausage. There is a small minority that are not too keen. And then obviously we finished the last couple of days with no obstacle, no sausage to jump. And that also looked good as well. Slalom, high wind slalom. And you've got to remember the conditions, the water conditions in Pozo are absolutely insane. It doesn't look so bad on the camera, but it's hard to sail. So for me, because these guys are so good, we need it to be difficult. It can't be easy. There needs to be a chance that they fall in. So in the other destinations, that's when maybe the obstacles and the other stuff will come in more in handy. In Pozo, I really believe we could have done just straight out slalom from day one, and it would have been epic. Not to say I didn't like the stuff that was added. I thought that was good. But I think that stuff does help when sea conditions aren't as crazy, but we don't want light wind slalom and obstacles, because I think that could be definitely not a good thing.
Yeah, what was the general vibe with the sailors, Benny? Were they all pretty excited by, at the end of the event about the whole concept? Or?
Interestingly, there was, I'm going to pick him out. I should have the montage right now of Cedric Board, because he was going mental. His helmet took a hell of a beating. It's like bash. He was, because he was going quick and he was looking good. And then the sausage added in, and then, he got to that point where he had a couple of crashes. I'm not laughing at him because I've spoke to him about it. Don't think I'm taking the piss, because it had a happy ending. I'm not talking about the sausage, but it genuinely did. So he basically, the long and short of it is, he crashed loads of times over the sausage, and then there was just this mental barrier, and then it just got funny, because it was like, oh no, surely not now, and then bang, straight in. So then, but afterwards, he said he was speaking to a few of the guys. People who listen to the live stream might have heard this story from Cedric as well on the last. He's like, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid, because I didn't realize everyone was unhooking to do the jumps. If the timing was wrong, they're unhooking, squashing down, pressing the board, and getting a bit of lift over the sausage. Whereas he's just straight up hooked in and just trying to do a little hop, and that just was not working. Yeah, when he worked out that, or when he spoke to a few of them, they're like, yeah, I'm unhooking. He's like, oh my God. So then he manages to sort it out. And then it was actually looked quite happy. And I also think maybe, I could be wrong, I didn't actually ask him this. I think people from home who had watched it had basically, I think this is, told him they're really enjoying it. And then because I saw him, his whole thing changed. He was like, it's over. You're killing the sport. This is going to be the worst way to go, you know? And at the end, he was kind of laughing about it. And then he didn't seem as convinced on that route anymore. Again, maybe he still thinks that. I don't know. But that's kind of what I want to ask you guys. You know, what really, and I'm being genuinely serious, I want to call the sausage something else, but it's just impossible right now. It's the sausage. That's it. Do you like the sausage in Slalom X? You know, we should do a poll. Can you do a poll? I have seen people do polls. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see any option to do that.
Yeah, I think it's on YouTube. Maybe we have to go back to that setting. Okay. Anyway, we'll just carry on for now. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at with the Slalom X. I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I got Dominic here. He's saying, no need for obstacles. Jibes and waves and all variations of the chicane and the speed run were far better, but especially for half-fleets, it is good to have normal slalom every now and then whenever needed, also from a race management perspective to start sooner. Yeah, I mean, it's just an opinion, isn't it? I mean, some people love it, some people not. I don't know. Is there a right answer for this? Yeah.
Some people love the sausage, others don't.
Yeah, here we got saying, I like the obstacle, but could be dangerous if you fall. That's a good point, actually. Was there any concerns about that? You know, I was thinking, you know, if you're following someone and they fall, you know, over the sausage and then you plow into the back of them. I mean, was there any?
Well, yes, but you got to remember when they put the obstacle in, I'm pretty sure it wasn't half fleet at that point, you know? So you've got 8 riders or whatever it is. It's wide enough. People are not going to follow someone. There was a couple of instances where I thought, I don't think that's right. You don't want to follow someone right behind them because you don't know, however good they are. It only takes a slight mistake to get catapulted. You can go round. If someone falls in the water, you don't have to jump the sausage and you won't be disqualified if you take evasive action. That's what the race officers said. And, you know, I didn't see anything. There was one in the girls, actually, where Uda did a massive jump, like a huge thing. And literally, she was in the air when the other one went down, but she was still upwind. But I put a thumbnail, the picture was out there. It was pretty mad. The picture looked pretty insane. Yeah.
No, I don't know. What do you think, Benny? I mean, what's the, you know, where do you think this is going? Is it something, you know, for example, Fuerte? Do you think there's a sausage going to be there? Or?
If I'm going to say anything, even just for the pictures, you know, and again, this is so Cedric Board is saying this is going to kill slalom. You know, that was kind of the feeling. He was kind of saying this is going to go nowhere. But for me, you know, are we ever going to get massive numbers without getting an outside sponsor? There needs to be. And people have talked about it for years. It's never really happened on the scale that it's needed. But I do believe windy slalom with obstacles, or one obstacle every so often, not always, it's so sellable. And I keep banging on about this in the live stream, but with the drone, it is epic. I've had kite surfers messaging me saying they watched it and they're like, it's really good. You know, like it is so engaging. It sucks you in. And the sausage is people can see it from the outside. It adds this little bit of a speed difference because you got to remember, this is the first event. People are going to get better at it. You could see even towards the later stages, there was hardly any crashes towards the end. But it did make a difference between slowing a little bit and hitting it full speed. And that is a really cool thing in a race to have without having to change course, anything else. It just has this moment of, I've got to time the wave. You know, also, I think we cannot underestimate, for me, the best obstacle was the waves. When the waves played a part in it, this was by far the best thing. So if I have to choose, do we do slalom in the waves or do we have obstacles? I'm going waves. The waves is way more exciting. You just, you can see it. And in Pozo, it's kind of, you know, semi onshore. So they didn't really play a massive part, but there was a few races where the wave didn't line up for someone, or it broke on the side and they got sideswiped and lost, or, and this was, for me, this is the best. If we can set up in places with waves, man, we are on a whole new level then, because this is epic. This is epic because a jump is a fixed line. You know what is coming. You know what's happening. With a wave, we don't know. And this is amazing when you're watching. From a sailor point of view, it's horrible because you can't plan. You have to adapt. But this is what, for me, makes it super engaging. Who adapts the best? We saw it on Nico Preen leading the last race. He wants to win it. But as he gets to the last wave, just the swell being out of sync with him gave Geordie the option to go inside. And that creates this drama. If that's flat water or choppy, that ain't happening, And then we saw, I think, in a couple of the women races, or even the guys' races in the qualifying, when they're coming in and they get on the wrong side of a wave and the other one can outrun it and the other one has to go. And this already created, for me, some of the best slalom racing I've seen in a long time. So I think that's where we have to focus. If we got an outside sponsor, let's say someone comes in, a massive sponsor comes in, you're looking for venues with small waves. Doesn't need to be massive waves, but small waves. Ideally cross shore, because then it's even more exciting. If you're not on the right swell line, there's some stuff going to happen, because the swell line means everything. You see it in Australia, when they're doing whatever they do, canoeing or whatever they do, surf canoeing and stuff, when someone comes and then they get on a swell and the other guy's so far ahead, but they don't have a set. And then the other one catches them up. And is it fair? Well, no, but that's what makes the race exciting. There is some unpredictability in there.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was thinking that I was watching the slalom race. It's anything you can do to put a bit of doubt into the end result, because normally, that's the problem we complain about Formula One. Once they're in the front, it's like it's pretty much gone. It's done.
It's all about the pit stop or some damage, or or their fuel choice. I mean, it's not the most interesting to me.
So anything you can do where you think, this is going to go down to the wire, or, there's some element that could, throw everything up in the air. What was the call, on the last leg? Obviously they came in with the wave. Was there some talk about having a last leg going back out through the wave and finishing out there?
There was a lot of talk. I was, for one, pushing pretty hard for that, because I really wanted to see it. But it was to do with the finish, and there was a few things they couldn't do, but I think they just wanted this one to be kind of seamless. It went well. They wanted to finish on a high without any, stuff that could have gone wrong, because the marks, obviously, in the waves and that sort of wind can move. So this was maybe the first one, make sure we nail it. But there's definitely talk of that, because you can really experiment with the course to a certain degree. Pozo, it is windy. People saying, I'm just looking at a few of the comments, I only worked because it was mega, mega windy. Man, these guys are flying flat out craziness on 7.0s. It is still as spectacular, trust me. If we're talking 8.6s, 9, okay, maybe you're totally right on flat water. But when you're talking waves and serious wind, they're going to be similar speeds. So, and I was saying this, again, this is nothing to do with me. Some people say it's to do with me, but I genuinely think under 80 kilo slalom category, we introduced 50% more riders, 100% more riders, maybe even more. There's a whole group of them, maybe under 83, whatever the average weight of a person is, we want to give them, without having to put on 10 kilos, 15 kilos, they can be competitive. Because if you're 10 kilos lighter than the top guys now, you are not competitive. No matter how quick you are, what your skill set is, you are just not competitive. So you need to eat like an animal. We're seeing it in IQ foiling right now. People are just chowing down, getting as big as they can almost, because you need weight to go fast. I think it's even more apparent in foil. There needs to be a weight category. What they're doing in the Olympics is lowering the size of the sail. And everyone's like, oh, it's going to change everything. For me, it's not, because as soon as it's windy, the big guys are still going to win. It just means in the light winds events, maybe the big guys can't actually get going in the really light shit. But if it's in a windy location, a big guy's going to come and smash everyone. So I think there needs to be weight categories, for fair racing. And if you want to get the numbers up there, you're going to appeal to so much more of the windsurfing population. I was one of them. I really wanted to do slalom, but there's no weight category. You're messing around where your kind of skill set is higher. There's people overtaking you who are heavier, and it's kind of hard. You want to at least be able to gauge yourself semi-fairly, And I think this is, a lot of people might disagree with that, but that's my opinion on it. And I think
I don't think there's no. Sorry to butt in, but there's no debate about it. It's like having boxing with no weight categories.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you need to. It needs. Yeah, I mean, it would be good to see.
The other thing is though, and Matchx told me this before. He goes, "What? They don't put a height restriction in basketball." I'm like, maybe they should. Maybe they should have a below 5'8" basketball. I don't know, but that's okay. But we're a small sport. Basketball has got a lot of external money coming in and whatever, but windsurfing relies on participation. And again, people might not agree with it. You say, you just get on with it. You work out where you are in the fleet. But I said, and this is, again, not that I'm going to come back to racing on the World Cup. This is not for me. But I genuinely, as a 80-kilo person, I don't want to get bigger. If I had to get bigger, I'd have to get massive and eat and be fat. And it just doesn't appeal to me at all. But what I do want to do is look at other riders who are better than me and see what gear they're using, what their skill set, how they're getting the extra speed compared to me, which I can relate to. I can see he's my height, he's my weight, he's set up that, he's using a softer fin, or, whatever it might be. This is what I find interesting as a windsurfer who's into slalom. I don't find it interesting. I've said this before. I'm not looking at Bruno Martini and going, oh, yeah, he's got this strap. He's a fucking beast. He's 100 and whatever kilos. He's so fast, but it's not relatable to me personally. The sails they're using are super powerful. Everything's production now. So everything production is basically geared for these heavier guys because they want to win the World Cup. They want to do this. They're not gearing sales for me, and maybe they are. Maybe there's brands out there that are. I don't know. But unless there's a category, the brands are not going to do anything different for the lighter rider out there. Maybe there could be an under 80 or whatever the cutoff is. Again, I think it needs to be kind of the average weight, how you're going to gain the most people. And even within the category, maybe you could add weights just to start off with, so we could understand who is, if you're doing half fleet racing where most people are going against each other, then it's interesting to see weights. If you're doing these 8-man heats where people are going against the top seeds, then it's not easy because you're not going against each other, the back guys. The back guys need to be going against each other if you're going to add just weights into the one category.
Yeah. So there's obviously, you've talked about it a lot. I mean, this has been brought up before. So is there any discussion within the PWA organization to actually make this happen, or
I don't think so, but my theory is I'm just going to keep banging on about it and maybe I'll do something, maybe I can try and convince it at a lower level, because as I said before, obviously what I see happening, and I've seen it in the UK already, and I've had messages from people, is the national slalom championships or the national series is getting smaller to the point where it's almost not sustainable to run it anymore. So you've got to motivate these guys at a national level, regional level, to want to race. How do you do that? And maybe this is something that could help at that level. Again, I can't say because I'm not involved in the UK scene anymore. I don't know. I think you can't just be open to every man and his dog, which I think it is at the moment. There's winging, there's foiling, there's everything. It's like this podcast. Look, we can't appeal to everyone. It's like your Instagram channel. You're never going to appeal to everyone. Some people are not going to like what you're doing, but the people who like it really like it. And I think this is more key than just being everyone thinks it's all right. And it's just, I think sometimes you've got to double down on what it is you're doing and just keep with the core that support whatever you're doing. And that could be very similar in the racing side. It's like, we're doing fin racing, we're doing foil racing. There's a clear cut. I know for me, it is not motivating for me to go on a fin when everyone else is on foil and be the first fin that's miles back with another couple of guys. But if everyone's on fin, everyone's in, there's weight categories, I'm like, okay, I can see where I rank. Everyone wants, you look at GPS. It's great because you can rank yourself. I had a good day today because that was my speed compared to my other speed. With racing, it's the same. You know, you want to kind of rank yourself, but you want to know what sort of category you fit in. That's my take on it. Again, I know we talked about this. This is meant to be about Pozo, but I think it's relevant because I think there's a lot of wave sailors out there who don't want to be the same size as, I'm going to keep using Bruno Martini because he's over 100 kilos. You know, they don't want to be that big. But actually, if you gave them some slalom gear, and it could be a no-cam sail, it could be something like this, under 80 kilos or whatever, like I said, whatever you find your good cutoff to be, I think they would enjoy it. And they're super competitive. They're fast. They're never going to be as fast as slalom guys. They're never going to want all that gear. But maybe there is this kind of fun category. Maybe it grows to a point where, you know, you have to adapt.
Yeah, and I was thinking that too when I was watching the event, Ben. I mean, can we tell the organizers just to have, what would you call it, like a demo category just to try things, you know? I mean, I don't know how many people agree with me, but I would actually love to see the wave sailors all just get in a heat and see who can do the course the fastest on their wave gear.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just think that'd be fun.
Just a mass start. Just do a mass start. I totally agree. I mean,
wave gear, just throw it in there.
The problem you've got is, you know, and I can speak from a crew perspective here. Pozo, the crews were pushed to the limit, you know, that was 9 days flat out, you know, from like, I'll just go through the sort of members of who are doing what. Alfie, you know, doing the daily videos. He gets up with me normal time in the morning, down the beach by 9:30, 9 or whatever it is. He doesn't finish editing till when he does the long ones, it's 2, 3 in the morning. That is a crazy, crazy day. He's filming all day. He's getting interviews. He doesn't stop, gathers the footage at the end of the day. We go back. We just smash some food. We actually stayed in Pozo this year. You know, a lot of the other crew, the boat crew and the judges staying in a hotel. But that's like 20 minutes away, half an hour away. By the time you've done that, so we end up staying in Pozo. I usually stay there anyway because of that distance. And like I said, Alfie's just editing the whole night to get those kind of dailies out, which is like, it's mad the amount of work he's doing. And then, you know, me personally, I'm a commentator. Give me one other sport where you do 9 days, like 8 hours a day, every day. Yes, a few people help me out, and massive thanks to you guys. But, you know, it's not normal to do that. A commentator's job's usually like a 2-hour job, hour and a half, 2 hours, you know, with a co-commentator, with other stuff. So, you know, then you've got the judges who, it's a smaller crew this year, they're judging and they're on the boat. You know, the concentration for the wave heats is insane. You know, again, no one's like, oh, this is unfair. It's like, look, you know, we don't mind pushing on the days where we need to get a result. You know, it has to happen because we've got to get a result. But, you know, because there's so many categories now, they're having to push nearly every day to fit it in. So, you know, and everyone, you know, Sarah Jackson on the social media, she's doing like 4 people's jobs, the amount of work. If you look how many stuff she did, it was amazing. But she's going crazy, man. I don't know anyone else could keep up. You know, JC, same thing. You know, I can't miss anyone out. You know, the organizers, everyone, you know, Rich Page, everyone is doing more. So everyone, just so people at home know, which you probably already know, but they are putting in the work to make this happen. But is it sustainable at that level? It's pretty full on. It's pretty full on. I won't lie to you. So then, you know, me talking about adding categories, I'm not saying adding categories in the current system. If you have to add categories, which I can see Pozo splitting into a wave and a slalom type deal with 2 different teams. That's Bjorn's idea. He wants to bring back 2 teams, one that just does the race, one that just does the wave, which I think that makes a big difference already. But, you know, depending on how many we've got in that Slalom X fleet, could we then add a masters category? You know, let's be honest. I look at the age group who watch this channel the most. They're masters. They're masters, you know, like 35 to 45, 45 to 55, 55 to 65, whatever it is, whatever YouTube categorizes them. You know, the bigger chunk is in that 45 to 55 category, my age, your age. So That's interesting as well. A lot of the windsurfers that I know who've got a background in slalom have built it up. Maybe they've got kids coming through. You know, there's a massive chunk of people there who I think would go to a PWA event. The argument is, well, the PWA is for the best of the best, the men and the pro women. But you could see the fleet wasn't that big this year compared to how we've had it. So could you fit in a youth and a masters category if it's racing only? You know, it's not more work for the race crew. It's less pro races, you know, but they would, in theory, the race crew would be doing similar work. I don't know. Again, I can't speak for them, but I think it would be interesting. People say, yeah, but the level isn't as good as the pro men and pro women. I would disagree, because I feel like the speed of these guys and the technique and everything is amazing, but you don't need that to have a watchable race. What you need is close racing where there's equally matched people. And I think we do get that. We would get that at whatever level. And then you would see the young crew coming through. They've got their own events at the moment. So it's not like they're not getting events. But I think it's nice for them to be at the events with the pro men. They get the same live stream with the same audience. You know, we would get to know these young guys coming up. And I think it would motivate the young crew coming up. Just my opinion. Again, not saying this is going to happen. This is a lot of my opinions, which doesn't mean anything really. That's why we've got the podcast.
Just going back to your weight classes here. There's a comment here from a sickle. Since it is a small sport, it's harder to divide into smaller parts like weight.
Okay, I mean, I'll answer that really quickly.
Okay,
I can answer that really quickly. The light guys aren't even here. So because it's a smaller sport, you might think, oh, that's going to just make it worse. But it's not, because the light guys are not even there. There's no one there. There's no one. There's Brendan Loho, who's a youth, you know, and he's a good sailor, but he's getting smashed. If there's a weight category, he's fighting out at the front of the fleet. Other youths are seeing that going, oh, okay. You know, this is motivating. Again, my opinion. You feel free to disagree. But I really think there would be people turning up.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, so what would be the cutoff? What sort of weight we're talking?
Well, again, I think I've thought about it a bit, because I always just thought 80 because it's a round number. But I think what you have to do is to maximize it. It has to fit the majority of normal people that are not having to. You don't want them all dieting. It needs to be that normal weight category that isn't competitive in the heavyweights, you know, which it's not. You look at the weight category, it really isn't competitive in the heavyweights, but then there should be a lot, or a good chunk. You could even say it goes lighter, because what you could have with this weight category is you might not need the youth category then, because the youths are freaking good. They're just light. So that could even they could be a youth inside this weight category, which is, again, you're adding, you know, for racing. I see it in the Deafy Wind. A lot of people love the categories within inside the Deafy Wind, because it's a good way to understand where you are. So you get guys going from Portugal who finish 5th Grandmaster or something like this, you know, and maybe they're 100 and something in the fleet, which is like, you're kind of lost in this massive fleet. But you walk away going 5th, you know, okay, I'm going to try and up that next year. And again, whether this should be on the World Cup, whether it needs to be at a lower level, but I think the interesting factor is the live stream. Everything's there. Bjorn wants more people. The Gran Canaria Tourism Board want to support, you know, more people. That's what they kind of want. They want this to get bigger, and we have to show that it's got a lot of competitors. They're used to putting on a triathlon, and they get, you know, hundreds of competitors from all these different countries. And for Gran Canaria, that's massive. You know, having different age categories, different weights, or whatever it might be, you know, you are getting all this exposure in all these different countries, because you've got different categories being won. You know, it sounds daft, but for example, you know, I won the Masters in Gran Canaria. I now go to the Portuguese thing, and they put it in their local paper. They love that they've got this Masters champion living in Sagres, you know, and it's already motivating them. And maybe there's even budget to get me to another Masters competition. You know, it sounds daft, but that's how these kind of governments and type of money works. Again, maybe people have got a different take on it, but I think it is interesting, and it needs to be looked at. If we had 100 competitors fighting it out to get into 64-man slalom at the World Cup, and all the national levels, you know, were full. Like in France, it's a very good scene. I think then it's maybe we don't even have to ask the question. But I genuinely think there is a lot of people who would like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you had, like, say it was an 80 kilogram cutoff, I mean, you could theoretically then, you know, the youth could, you know, there's a lot of youth there that are probably 70 kilos or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they could just get involved, couldn't they? Because I mean, you know, if you're a 19-year-old kid, you could take on an adult, or you know, you know what I mean.
Also, and again, maybe people don't like the idea, but even if you do weight categories at first within the categories, and the fleets are bigger, so everyone's going against each other, you know, in the women could have a weight category, because you know, Sarah Keita, she's tall, she's, you know, she's a great racer, she's got the skill set. But in terms of weight compared to some of the smaller, younger girls coming through, they are never going to match her for speed. You know, never. But maybe they've got amazing racing skills. And again, like I said to you, it's like in karting, you have to be a certain weight to go a certain speed. In lots of these sports, it's very body shape, size specific. I see it in IQ foil all the time. You know, it's not that some of the lighter riders have got no skill at all. They're just lighter. And for me, I think it would be exciting to see that. And I think it would motivate way more people from an early age. Like I literally just gave up on slalom. I'm like, well, I'm going to concentrate on getting a job. And then I ended up getting into freestyle and then wave and then whatever. I got back in. But I was originally a racer. We had one design racing, which was the Olympics, which you had to be 70 kilos on Mistral one design. I was like 68. So as a lighter rider, and the Asians, this is what they're kind of moaning a little bit about over there in Asia, that they're too light really to be competitive on the IQ foil, or, you know, some of the smaller nations, because size-wise, some nations are smaller than others, just naturally. And, you know, the Olympic class was always a smaller person's class. So if you wanted to be a professional windsurfer and you were heavy, you would go PWA pretty much. If you wanted to go, you know, professional windsurfer and go that way, you could go into the Olympic scene because you were smaller. Now the Olympic scene is like as big, if not as the same as the PWA. So now you've got everyone on one side of the draw. And then there's lighter riders who might love windsurfing, be super competitive, really skillful, are just like, well, I'm not fast enough. It's just the weight is a massive issue.
Yep. No, I think it's a good idea, and hopefully it happens, Benny. Are we still going to try to encourage someone to come on board and give an opinion?
Yeah, should we do it?
Yeah. Okay. I'll
Has anyone got an opinion? I gotta say, we talk about wave sailing, Pozo. You can talk about the new the new elimination system. Weight vest, someone's saying there, weight vest, maybe. I'm not sure we want to go down that route, but I do believe I would. Like I said, I keep saying it because I know it's my own point of view, and I fully believe in it. I want a hero to look up to who's 80 kilos, who's smashing it. You know, I think it's.
I've just posted the link down there, so if anyone wants to.
The only problem is with weight vests in windsurfing, when you fall in and all this sort of stuff, it's like, and the pounding on your body. It's like, do we need to do that? Why can't we have weight categories? Why is that such a problem? I agree. What is the disadvantage? I would say, what is the disadvantage of weight categories would be one thing.
There was a bit more organization, I guess, but just maybe moving on the subject, because we could probably talk about that for hours. And I'm just trying to find the comment, but someone made the comment about identifying the races on the course. You know, I think we talked about that briefly, Ben, on one of our phone calls. That
yes,
you know, as a viewer looking in. Unless
as a commentator, trust me.
Yeah. So you know, I think that's also another area to you know, maybe could be looked at as well. You know, I think that some of the sailors, you know, they could, I mean, like maybe it's like really big numbers on there, or maybe kind of like fluoro color numbers, or just something to maybe help, or just a bigger you know, sponsors, stickers on there. I don't know. What do you think, Ben? Is that
I
the solution?
I am 100%, and I've spoke to a lot of sailors. So again, I've covered it a little bit on the live stream, but the minimum stuff could happen is helmet color, like really bright, different colors for different riders. You know, it's not that difficult, and it does make a difference. Like, as soon as I worked out, you know, Maltarusha's got a red helmet on a GA sale, Daldorf's got a black helmet, that was instantly better. But then Stallman's got a black helmet and he's on a GA, so sometimes you get them mixed up. So some sort of clear identification. We talked about, you know, rash vests being different colors, and I think that could even help in the wave sailing as well for the camera crew. You know, have 4 different colors that you print lots out. So, and then in the racing, we just make sure that the guys on the same team have different colors. You know, so it wouldn't be like everyone's got a different color, but we just make sure that certain guys have different colors. And as long as they're very distinguishable, like a yellow, a white, you know, whatever, you know, like as long as pink, whatever it is, you could do it. You know, the leading guy would have a yellow rash vest. That would also be pretty sick for the media, because I think then when they're on the beach, people will instantly know, which I think is pretty cool. You know, sale numbers for sure. Like each rider having exactly the same sale numbers, and they're getting smaller and smaller, proves pretty difficult. Like even Matchek having that pink number, I can tell him. You know, I can tell him. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh, we've got a guest. Bring him up.
Actually, hang on. Wait a minute. Before we do that, ride the Liger. There we go. Got a donation. Way. And I have to say, I also got from Pozo at the end of it a super chat, $200 some guy put in. But ride the Liger, that's going to get the beer in. So cheers. Thanks. And I have to say, massive thanks to all the guys whose beer money is just renewed and all that, and the support from Pozo. Like I keep saying it, I don't want to sound like a charity, but that is making everything happen. So a massive thanks to all you guys that have chipped in any beer money over the year. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Right, who we got? Bring him in.
Tomasz, hello.
Hello, guys. I guess Ben is not.
Studio. He's got more plants than a bloody plant house. That is lovely.
Yeah, it's just a.
Feel the fresh air from here.
You look very comfortable there, Matt. Are you? Is that like a balcony or something?
No, it's my living room.
Oh, right, nice. And what did you think about the event, or any thoughts about Slalom X, or
Amazing. I mean, Ben knows me well, and he knows I watch everything. And I was watching the foil live in Japan, and I watch all the events on the stream, and both waves and slalom were just brilliant. I think it's even better to watch the slalom on the live stream than in live. But I guess in Pozo it must have been pretty good, because the finish line was close to the beach and some of the marks were close to the beach, so you could see actually from the beach. But watching it live is brilliant, and generally it was a super fun event to follow. Like, I'm a tennis nerd as well as a windsurfing nerd, and I was watching the slalom instead of watching Wimbledon. So.
So there we go. That's a good advocate, isn't it? I think it's interesting. What is interesting is actually people who are in Pozo watching it live on the beach. Some of them were actually then going and watching it on the TV, because the drone and all the angles and then the replay of the race and the stuff, I think is epic. I think the next level up, and we've had it before, for some reason it wasn't possible this year in Pozo, but I'm pretty sure it will be in Furta, is the live interviews after the races. I think this is also what I personally think is needed, because then you get this emotional connection to the riders and people see their faces and the excitement and the bit after, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I said, whereabouts are you in the world, Tomasz?
I'm in Sweden.
Ooh, okay.
And,
nice.
I think there hasn't ever been a PWA event in Sweden. But there used to be some big events in the past.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well.
Oh, it's better days that.
Well, we were. Are we going to? We're going to keep him short, right, Benny? That was the idea.
That's the plan.
Tomasz,
cheers.
You're out.
Good job,
Thanks
guys.
for coming on, mate.
Keep it up.
Good hat. Yeah, there we go. Tomasz, that's our first caller.
Thank you, Thomas.
Anyone didn't like it wants to come on and have a rant.
Yeah. So it's obviously the what about the numbers, Benny? Because there was 26 men, 11 females. Is that true?
I think what you might find is you need stuff like this to happen to then make the numbers to go up. You know, you've got to showcase it. I think the live stream is one of the best adverts for it. You know, obviously the highlight videos is epic, but when you can just watch the races back, you can understand what you need. And interestingly, actually, let's have a look, see if I can do this, because Instagram earlier already, I've been seeing this, which is quite cool. Let me, I haven't really planned this, so apologies if this does not work. Okay, maybe it's not going to work. For some reason, my whole Google thing has like reset itself. Okay, but anyway, no, it's not.
But yeah, but what do you think the numbers though? Because obviously now we're.
No, what I was going to say is on Instagram, someone collabed with me a couple of times, and they've been already practicing jumping boys. You know, so what I'm trying to say is, it's like, you know, in the Cricket World Cup's on or something, and England win, and then they sell out of cricket bats.
Yeah.
You know, okay, it's probably not that same effect, but you know, I'm sure other windsurfers, anyone watch the slalom and then go out and try and jump the nearest boy. No, but it might become a thing, you know, and I'm not talking about jumping massive sausages or anything like that, but just having like this little idea where you've got to clear a little obstacle just to add a little bit in there. I thought it was quite cool. But numbers wise, could they be better? Yeah, of course they could be better, but that has to come then from the national series. The only thing I would say is what I'm worried about, you know, foiling, let's not forget, it's been 5 years, you know, with COVID, with everything else, and, you know, since the last full fin race, I think. Was that right? 5 years? It might be. Maybe. Well, it's something like that. But if you look at that, you think, well, that's got to have took a hit nationally, because if you haven't got the upper level, you know, really pushing the fin and people changing over to foil, then you're going to lose a little bit at the bottom. So it does take a bit of time to put it at the top, and then to people want to get onto it. So then they go up on their own and they try and set up these mini sort of regional events, or like you're doing in Australia, or national events, get stronger. You've got to have that sort of kind of guys at the top, I think, promoting and pushing. And it was super interesting for me just to see him blasting along. It made me start thinking about boards again and getting excited about getting some gear. And for me, it made a big difference. You know, I'm sponsored, obviously, but be interesting to hear what you guys out there think of that. Did it change anything of the way you're thinking? Are you ex-slalomers that stopped slalom because of foil? Maybe you switched over to foil and this has remotivated you. Maybe the opposite. Maybe like, it doesn't do anything for me. I just liked watching it. They're the interesting comments, actually.
I mean, just talking from my own perspective, I think when you go windsurfing, a big part of the appeal is just planing along. And if you've got, I'm sure this is common to everybody, but you know what it's like if you're sailing and there's somebody next to you, you just end up getting in a little mini race with someone, don't you? It's like, oh, who can, you know, you just try to outdo each other's speed. It's just a thing.
And then if they're going to overtake you, you do a sneaky jibe just before they overtake you.
But personally, I like you know, having a little bit of a race, and I'm certainly not going to be entering a PWA event anytime soon. But the only thing that would stop me, well, the thing that stops me from getting involved in slalom is just the gear. You know, like I'm just probably not going to be investing in a few slalom boards and a whole bunch of SDMs and cambered sails. So I think, for me personally, if there's more options for, you know, whether it's no cammed or sort of more just wavy free ridey stuff, then I'm probably much more likely to get involved. But right now, I'm personally put off by the gear aspect, you know, and I'm not talking about PWA level. At PWA level, that's, you know, that's the best of the best. I understand that, but I'm just talking about on a local level. If I was wanting to get involved, and I'm probably not the only one. I'm sure there's a few people out there with similar, you know what I mean? So that's
it's really interesting you say that, because I totally relate. You know, going out and dropping, I don't know how many grand on loads of new gear, it does put you off. But people, and I'm sure there are, like you say, want to get a sample of what it's like to race. And it is interesting because it's windy. you know, even a wave sail is pretty quick if you're on some sort of decent-ish fast board. But if you're racing in waves, again, we'll go back to the wave rally in a minute. You know, it's going to be interesting how that wave rally, because that could be massive. Like, let's say your event, for anyone who doesn't know, Paul's organising the wave rally in Geraldton next January, which is basically wave gear, slalom with a few waves chucked in, roughly speaking, beach start, beach finish, you know, kind of a fun event. Let's say that goes down really well. That might create this type of feeling, because like you say, and I've told you before, you don't need to be going the fastest in the world. Yes, the world's best do, and they're always going to be there. But we basically, the sport needs building from the base up. You know, we've got to have something to head for, but then someone and something need to be motivating people to race, and understanding that it can't all be about the highest tech gear in the world. Maybe that comes once you get into it, but firstly, you have to get people into it. And yeah, maybe there is this kind of fun racing fleet. And again, who knows how it evolves, because, you know, maybe you don't want to drop, you know, so much money on full racing gear, but you can justify dropping like maybe half the money. You could end up, like I said, getting into it, semi into it, but not into the full cambered stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, because we have some slalom races here, you know, I'm in Western Australia, but I guess the perception I have is, well, I'm probably not going to go because I'm going to end up turning up an event where everyone's ending up on pretty fast race gear, and I'm going to be rocking up with my wave gear and just get smoked, which is not exactly a lot of fun. So I guess that's just me personally. I mean, yeah.
But what you want, I know, but I just cut in because it's exactly what you just said. You don't mind racing, but you need a kind of benchmark that if someone's on similar gear, you're going to go, okay, yeah, I got this like kind of race going on. But if everyone else is on this top of the range gear and they're smoking, you're like, yeah, but you're not as good as me, but you're still beating me because of the gear you've got. And that kind of is limiting to how much fun that is once they keep. And that's the same, I think, with the introduction of foiling into the fin races, because you're getting beaten by a faster thing. The foiling is by far the most, you know, I mean, it's just way more efficient than a fin race. Is it better? That's the thing that's up for debate, and different people have different opinions. But what's not in debate is the foil is way more efficient. So racing against it doesn't make sense. Like, doesn't make sense. So yeah, you're right. I'm just we're gonna go to comments, because we have got quite a few comments coming in. And interestingly, Jim says, too funny. Paul just said exactly the same thing. So what did Jim say? That's the question. What's he say? For foiling, I think we need to change the focus on to freeride stuff. Here in the Great Lakes, the wind wave foiling is cool. You guys get Casey on and interview him. He's making it cool. And again, like I said, maybe there's just and you don't want to have too many different categories, but what you want to make it is elitist. You know, you've got to have this kind of category which gets people in, but I think you've also, at that point, you still need the advocates for that. If all the people are going on about high-tech racing, and then you just introduce this category with no energy, with no promotion, with no sort of ambassadors, let's say, for it, it's going to die. It's going to die. Like, I've seen it happen in the UK, and the best shops in not just in the UK, everywhere, are the shops where there's some Mr. Motivator who's just mad keen windsurfer, forecasts on, he's WhatsApping on the WhatsApp groups, he's motivating the troops. Because let's be honest, we all need a little bit of motivation every now and again. We're not always firing on our motivational sort of cylinders. So having those keen guys, and you know who they are. You've all got one in your WhatsApp group or your whatever. Like, I know if I went Mr. Motivator on slalom right here in Portugal, I could definitely create some stuff. Same with the local guys. If they went just Mr. Motivator, we're going, Ben, come on, let's go. We got this thing, you know, it would change the whole game. And it is as simple as that. You know, like the UK didn't do their event the other day because they had 30 people and they needed, I think, 40. But if everyone can motivate a friend to come, and there is this and there's you know, you've got to have a reason to come, whatever, you straight away double your numbers. That's just by getting one person you know to go. And we probably all know one person who would go.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And look, and the other thing too is just to, I mean, sorry, I might be getting a bit annoying going on about this, but I think of the wave sailing crew, right? Like I think of wave gear as like motocross. Like if it was motorcycling, the slalom is the GP, and the motocross is the waves. You know what I mean? Like if you had to sort of differentiate. But imagine you went to a motocross event and they said, "Well, we do jumps, we do a jumping event, but we're not going to race them." And then you go, "Well, why wouldn't you?" Because I don't know, they just jump. But obviously in motocross, pretty much the biggest aspect of motocross is the racing. Like the supercross and the motocross, like supercross. I mean, supercross, I look at wave gear like that. Okay, there's faster motorbikes. You can get the GP, but that's not the point. The point is it's close racing and it's short little courses and it's all spectacular and stuff. So, you rock up like this Pozo. I just think, well, you've already got all these people that have traveled all the way over the world with their gear. Why not utilize it? Yeah. They're there. They're already there. But I know, look, I get it at Pozo though, or you are already stacked with work. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should have all just had a whole other eliminations of wave gear or anything, but it's just that I think we limit ourselves a bit by thinking with windsurfing. You know what I mean?
No, it's for sure. It's just, there's definitely, I would have loved to have seen a mass fleet, full fleet participation, fun race, but it's never fun because someone wants to win. Like you say, with all the wave guys, just flat out on the start, who wins, and who would you put your money on? Ricardo's up there, Marino, they're all super fast, some of these guys. It would have been pretty sick, but you need lots of them for that type of racing to be interesting. And it definitely could have been done for sure. But again, could it have been done this week with what was going on? I think everyone, when there was a break, they needed a break. But it's definitely something to kind of pencil in. I think it'd be cool to even have a prize for it, just to give it that bit. I've got a big shout out because we actually have had some money in by a couple of people.
Wow.
£5.
Oh,
we're on.
Where is
he?
The
event was awesome. I did go out the day after and try and jump a board. We even had chats at West Kirby about doing some casual racing. And this is what I'm saying. It's really good to hear that because, again, I can guess that's what's happening or guess if that's motivating people. But like I said, I always remember that Cricket World Cup because I was like, cricket. But the next day on the news, they're like, we've sold out of cricket bats. And you think that's the kids watching it. And then did you see Pierre Mortefon's Instagram? That was classic. There's, Pierre Mortefon's got his kid watching at home and he's on the sofa watching, the live stream. Is just pretty cool.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't see that. That's cool. He was smoking them, wasn't he?
Nicholas? Yeah. 50 secs, whatever that is. 50 secs?
Swedish krona.
Sounds bloody great.
Thank you, Nicholas. Mate, you're raking in cash tonight, Benny.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's decent. Well, there's actually so many comments. We've missed, hundreds here. See if we can pull some out.
I'll
let you pull some out. I'm pretty bad at doing two things at once. Talking and reading is
just complicating more, just more conversation. Category where you compete in wave and slalom and combine scores to get a winner. I mean, this is the thing too. If you have a blank sheet of paper and you go, what can you do with windsurfing? There's a million options to do that we don't do.
But going back to your thing, there could be an overall champion, but you have to use your wave gear that you use in Pozo. So obviously the advantage would be with the guys who have a faster board, but their disadvantage would be their board maybe doesn't turn as well in the waves. So, you wouldn't then people having these specialist boards just for the slalom. They would have to use the board that they used. And that would be pretty cool, actually, wouldn't it?
It would be very cool.
That would actually be cool. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do, don't get me wrong, they're not having to do million slalom events or nothing like, slalom races. Maybe it's only a few.
Yeah. We have another guest, Benny. We have another guest.
Like Mr. Norstick.
We bring him in.
Hi, guys.
He's on the road. Don't crash.
I don't crash. I'm on my way to St. Peter-Ording in Germany.
What's happening there?
Oh, there's a world championship in the IQ now in foil racing from the IFCA. It's starting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just
Ooh.
enjoying listening to your guys' podcast.
Nice.
Cool. Good on you. How's it going with your tour that you're organizing?
Oh, it's going really good. We have there's a big demand of racing in the foiling, and so we have a lot of positive feedbacks, and really looking forward to kick it off. And opposite to many other organizers, we are like saying weight waste is allowed, as I also wrote earlier today.
So
And
weight vests are allowed.
and free gear, and as long as it has to be production gear.
Okay, so unlimited equipment choices as long as it's production and weight vest.
Yeah, exactly.
When does the event start?
Sorry, what?
When does your event start?
It starts 22nd of August until the 25th, so it's a 4-day qualification for the 2025 tour of this European Pro Windsurfing Tour.
Okay, and how many people are entered?
Until it's close to 30, so it's looking bright for the windsurfing. I mean, because it's almost 1 month away. So, and we know in how people normally are entering last minute. So, and we have the best of the best there. We have Michel Becker, Johan Sö, etc., etc. So a lot of the top riders are going there, and so looking forward.
Yeah, should be interesting, definitely. What did you think of Pozo?
I loved watching Pozo. I think it's one of those places where we can actually make a extremely good fin event. So even I do the foiling competitions. Watching fin event in those kind of conditions is really satisfying for me as a viewer. And knowing that the guys, for me, what's most important in a fin race is that don't get stuck on the buoys in the jibing. And I actually see this fin racing like the top of the top within fin racing, what they're doing in Poso, because it is extremely extreme, and it's way more extreme than what people can imagine.
Yeah.
And I don't think they need to add anything else than what nature provides, as you mentioned, waves slalom, and as a slalom in the waves. I think that would be awesome, like they did in La Torre in the old days. But full-on racing in those conditions are heads down for the guys who's doing that, because that's really for the grown-ups.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. They made it look easy compared to how difficult it was, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just while we've got you here, Finn, can you maybe just educate everybody? This tour that you're doing, it's obviously a foil windsurfing tour. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pure foil, no fins. And that's one of the reasons for that is actually that we would like to make windsurfing viewable very close to where we have the audience. Could be close to cities and close to other venues where you could actually get spectators coming watching it. And then since we don't have any restrictions, it's also we want and we know it's possible for the guys to race in extremely low wind. We see that in the IQ foiling, and we want to bring that into the normal racing as well. So, and that is super good for the sponsors, and we need to say the sponsors, and you're talking about these main sponsors all the time, also in your programs. And so we need to put the sponsors on the top of the list of who has to be very happy of an event. And then, of course, the organizers, the racers, etc., etc., etc. And due to extremely low wind, like going in 8 knots or whatever, we spoke to a lot of the pros, and they say that's possible. It's actually often more difficult due to the technique you need to be able to get into perfection. Because if you make a mistake in super light wind, you're out of the game. That's so simple. You're just out of the game. So it is actually super interesting for the guys, for the racers, in light wind, as well as it is in super strong wind. And then the tour is we want to do it in Europe. We want the kids, you're talking about Brendan Lowe, who's a super talented guy. I met him in Tenerife this winter, and I also remember when I was 20 years old and sitting in the car, sleeping in the car, this thing you were thinking of was racing. You didn't care where you were sleeping. If you could take your car, drive there, you were more than happy. And this is what we want to bring back into this into this stuff, that go into your car, go together with a friend, drive to an event, 4-day event, and have a good experience and a good race.
Okay.
I don't think we need more than 4-day events, actually. I hope normally we should not be more necessary for the more than 4 days. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ben?
Like I said, if you got conditions and if you're racing in super light winds, then yeah, it should be enough. The reason for having long competitions was to guarantee a certain amount of wind, but the foil in theory guarantees you should be racing in most stuff. Again, if you get 0-0 wind, then it's obviously a bit of a nightmare.
That is the thing.
No.
But
well, cool.
Yeah. So
well,
thanks.
Cheers for tuning in. We will we'll let you go, then we'll slag you off when you've gone. Not joking.
So yeah, thank you guys for a nice podcast.
Cheers, dudes. Have a good one.
Thanks, Finn. See you, mate. Bye.
There we go. Finn Noor. It's got the foiling European foiling tour. Well, it's a qualifier this year, one event. I think I'm going to be commentating it. I'm pretty sure I am. Don't disappoint him. But yeah, and then he's got the tour coming out next year. Again, few people sailors, or do we need another tour? But in theory, this should be an addition below maybe the PWA tour that leads on to think. You know, that's how it could be. Again, it's going to depend, because as you see in Pozo, and people were talking about how do you identify sailors, but in an ideal world, we end up with like every sailor having this massive outside sponsor. I mean, this is pipe dreams right now, but you know, let's say one sailor sponsored by Land Rover, one sailor's sponsored by, you know, whatever, you know, he was the Oracle. You know, imagine having all the sails, and it's so obvious to the outside viewer. It's like you almost don't even need to call it from the rider. You call it from the sponsor, because then it's just so blatantly obvious. You know, at the moment we've got 4, 5 Severns, 5 GAs in one race, and it's like, to the average guy, they ain't got a clue. To me, I'm like struggling. But you imagine we've got either teams or certain guys on really sponsored up sails.
Yep. There's a definitely opportunity. I mean, we're basically sailing around with big billboards, and I just don't see them as has been utilized well enough. You know, I think the number, especially the numbers thing. You know, I think some of the sailors have a number where it's just like, you know, little black little black things, and I'm like, you can't see it. It's just got to be big fluoro.
Well,
6-3.
Look at Ricardo Campello. Who was he sponsored by from this event?
Yeah. Well, that's a good example. That was perfect. Yeah.
You really couldn't miss it, could you? It was like Martin Garrix. You'd be like, who's that guy? I thought it was Martin Garrix. No, that's the sponsor. And you know, on the bottom of his board, I think he had Insta 360. You look at some of those things.
Actually, and I actually want to retract what I said, because I said numbers. Numbers are kind of boring. You know, if you've got your main sponsor, just throw a huge banner of them on your sail. You know, because as you said, you didn't miss Ricardo, did you? Yeah, you could see him a mile off with that that logo.
Any picture, it was like, okay, there's Ricardo. You didn't mix him up with any of the other Neil Pride guys. When the other Neil Pride guys were out, you were like, is that one? Is that one? It's like, there's Ricardo. And I think we have to get, I know it's not cool somehow. It's kind of lost its coolness. When I was growing up, it was kind of cool to have decent sale numbers and but then it kind of got like uncool. And it was like, everyone was like minimal. It was like,
you can't see it.
Your things are massive, man. You're not cool. You're like, well, they're paying me some money.
But I think the thing is, it's the perspective of the sailor, because when the sailor's rigging up the sail, you know, they could see their sticker right in front of them. I think I can see that, but when you're looking at through a broadcast that has sometimes sketchy resolution, you need everything you possibly can to identify things, you know. So
some people have been saying this here. James Clock, I've seen this comment a few times. Coloured ribbons on the sails used to be a thing. That definitely in wave sailing, that used to be a thing for the heat. So that there'd be 2 guys with a red one and 2 guys with the yellow one, and you would know who was against who. But that was really to see who was on which side of the draw. But now it's like just even difficult to recognise who is even who. Like it's like the sail numbers are just tiny or non-existent. Again, I'm guilty of it as well, because You know, when you're not really doing the full tour or whatever, then sail numbers, you turn up to your local beach, just example, Margaret River, you're on a bit of a winter holiday, you turn up to the beach with your massive sail numbers and they're like, oh, who's this fucking dude? And you're like, it's mass high, you're like shitting yourself. There's some random bloke you've never heard of just cracking the lip and you're there with your big numbers going, ooh, down the freaking, like, down the shoulder. Yeah, and then it's like, what? Everyone's having a beer at the end. Go, you see that
sausage?
Some sort of big time fucking pro here, and you're like, oh god, rip the numbers off.
I like it, Benny. And what about just for a bit of fun? But this, you know, we're talking about Slalom X, and obviously this concept is more like a higher wind spectacle, right? Because yeah, this is the idea, I guess, is it, with the Slalom X and the PWA? They're just going to basically put it into higher wind locations.
Yes. Higher wind location. If someone comes out from, like, let's say someone. I'm trying to think of a good place that was got no wind, Costa Brava or something, where, you know, it's not guaranteed to be windy. It can be super windy, but a lot of the time we've ended up with a lot of light wind races, and they go, we want to do Slalom X. I'm pretty sure the people are going to say no. You're allowed to do foiling, but you're not allowed to do Slalom X because we want to guarantee it's a high wind venue. Obviously, not every place can guarantee wind, but let's say we go to Greece in the summer. It's very unlikely we're going to be doing some light wind racing. Yes, it can be, but chances are it's 7 meter weather. You know, I think what the sizes they registered for Slalom X was 7.5, 6.5, 5.5, roughly. So 7.5 is still classed as Slalom X. So if that's your kind of light wind is a 7.5, then it can be done. Then fair enough. But we don't want 8.6, 9.4s, whatever the top sizes are, like racing. That's kind of the talk. But, you know, there are windy venues. Like, I would imagine Brazil could be just an epic Slalom X competition.
Well, that was my next question. You know, if you had a dream tour, or, you know, you had your bucket list of places that you could run these events. I mean, because, you know, a few people have said to me, oh, this is all well and good, but where are you going to go in the world that's windy? But if you put your mind to it, there actually are quite a few places that have a good record for wind.
The biggest problem is the PWA is not organizing the events. The PWA are an organization that will bring the tools that the organizer needs, but the organizer themselves, so let's say you're the organizer in Australia, you would need to provide the budget to pay the PWA to come and bring all their systems and, you know, whatever, house them in accommodation, feed them, you know, and then pay the prize money as well for the riders to come. And then, you know, you would set up basically the tents or whatever. You know, there's a list of things that you need to provide as an organizer, which maybe you're already doing. Maybe it's good enough. Now, there is maybe, if you're a one-off, you know, a first-time event and they're trying to encourage you as an organizer, there might be a few little sweeteners they could offer you, because maybe the sailors really want to go to your venue. So maybe then the sailors will slip on a few things which usually they would have set. And that's to help the organizer have an event, get the promotion, and build the event up into a full, you know, proper 5-star event. So maybe you've only got the 4-star quality, but they believe in your event and they think if we ran it and it went well, then it could build to a 5-star. Maybe they could give you 5-star, you know, for the first year. But if you then can't provide it the second year, it's not going to happen. But there is some, you know, I don't know. I'm not from the PWA, but I have heard of that type of stuff. The same with wave sailing with Fiji. It was a 5-star event in terms of points because the venue was just so good and the guys wanted to go. But after 1 year of doing it, it really has to then step up the level, because it's a lot of money for the riders to get to. So Australia would be a good example, you know, from all the guys from Europe or whatever to get over there costs a lot of money. But the benefit of doing it is we would be building the slalom guys from, you know, Australasia. So New Zealand would come over, I guess, you know, the guys from the east coast of Australia would come over to Perth. The west coast guys would come. So yeah, maybe not all the slalom guys from Europe would come over, but that doesn't stop it being a 5-star event, you know, because we can't have all of the tour in Europe.
Mhm.
If you can provide the money and provide the stuff, I'm sure you would get some, same with Japan and stuff like this.
Yeah, but I mean, but if you let's just say you had to pick 5-6 locations that
Okay.
forget the others. Yeah, where would you go? I mean, Peter's made.
And it doesn't matter about money.
Yeah, like if you
Okay, so I'm definitely thinking Pozo is on because
Mhm.
there might be more than 5. I'm just going to go through my head things that stick out to me where it would be cool to see it. So I definitely think Pozo is one. I think Furta's another. They're tried and tested. The Gorge was mentioned. Now I've never been to the Gorge, but I grew up with videos from the Gorge, and I often think, wow, how have we never had a real event over there that I can remember? So I would put the Gorge on there, even though I've never been. I don't even know how it would work. You could maybe even do figure of 8 because apparently the river pushes you upwind and you just sail downwind the whole time or something. But again, I don't know, but I would love to see that. I think Brazil, again, I don't know all the different locations, but I'm guessing there must be a perfect location in Brazil with small waves coming in and, windy the whole time. I can see that being a cool venue. I'm just going through the windy ones. Tarifa, this is got so many people train there over the winter. Always people talking about Tarifa. Is it windy enough for Slalom X? I'm guessing it should be, depending on which beach. Geraldton, where you are, you're doing the wave rally, but this is a great beach. That is a great beach for doing that event, I feel. I mean, there's so many beaches. There's so many places. Maui, in Maui.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? There's actually quite a lot of locations. It's just, as you said, getting the organizers together that's up to a standard that the PWA could run from. But there are actually quite a lot of reliable locations around the world.
Greece is, super windy.
Yeah.
Throughout the summer.
Greece. Egypt. Someone's mentioned here Egypt.
Yeah. There is definitely a lot of we probably haven't mentioned all of them. New Caledonia was always a good one. Obviously, a lot of problems going on there at the moment, but it is definitely possible.
I mean, just kind of being annoying again and just talking about this wave gear. Part of the reason why I'm also excited by that, and you've mentioned before, but obviously for anybody that doesn't know, I'm in the middle of organizing an event here in Geraldton, which is going to be a wave slalom style event on wave gear. But the beauty from an organizing point of view for me is I only need one main factor to make it work, and that's wind. Whereas if you run a wave event, you need waves and wind. And obviously, if you're in a slalom event, you need wind. But the beauty of this is I don't have to worry if it's going to be small waves, big waves. As long as there's winds, you can run the thing. So it's I'm just also thinking from that, anything you can do to minimize the risk of actually getting the event off the ground as well. Because as soon as you say, well, I need cross off wind and I need this and I need that, it's like, yeah, okay, that's great, but a lot of variables that are out of your control. So yeah, anyway, that's just something that I like because. Oh yeah, and sorry, the other thing I was going to say was, also, if you're going to a location, so for example, in Geraldton, people have said to me, well, why don't you run a slalom event at Coronations, like with slalom gear? And I said, well, it would be cool. Like it would actually be cool. However, if you go down there on a summer's day, 99.9% of people are using wave gear. Like there's 100 people down there. They're all on wave gear. So if I turn up there with an event and go, all right, everyone, I've got an event here, but none of you have got the gear to go in it. They're sort of scratching their heads going, well, okay, so I guess we can't be involved. So this is the other thing is what's that?
2 fleets.
Yeah, but well, you could do that. I mean, ultimately that would probably be a good thing to do. However, I just think, utilizing what is already there, the people, if you're in a location where everyone's just doing free riding and that's all everyone does, well, then create an event for free riding. I mean, it's a simple concept, but I see that on windsurfing sometimes, they sort of, you know what I mean? Like it gets a bit, they're not sort of catering to what's already there.
No, I think it's interesting. I think the slalom guys that do slalom will still go, but they'll bring other gear.
Yeah. Look,
it'll be interesting to hear. Are there racers who are not going to go because it's not racing gear? That would be interesting.
Yeah, well, that's actually it's a good discussion, because I'm learning as I'm doing this, and obviously there are a lot of people that are into racing that don't have wave gear. So that'll be interesting to see how many people are actually put off by that limitation as well. However, I'm sort of hoping that I mean, in the classifieds here, there's lots of like old multi-fin boards, just like $100-$200 that you can just buy. And also at the windsurfing club here, they've got about 10 of these things just sitting in a container, never being used. So if someone turns up, they could use one. Maddie Claire's just asking the question. I'll just answer it. Oops, call the wrong one. Is it going to be live streamed? At this stage, no, because it would. Yeah, the thing is, if I was going to do a live stream for this event, I'd want it to do it to a certain standard. And I'm not confident with the budgets and everything I have at the moment that I could get to the standard that I want to. I think it doesn't matter that you have to see it live. I'd rather have a good edited races that it's to a higher quality than have a low quality and live. It would be cool. And also, for example, Ben, I've asked Ben if he wants to come, but I don't know if that's happening. It sounds like he's going to South Africa. So if I don't even have a commentator, you can forget it. If you don't have a
We've already talked about it, and I think Paul's got a good point. And I think that the plan, not putting words in your mouth, is to do a kind of as live, but an edited live-ish version where there's all the bits where the gaps are all taken out, and then the commentary's in. And I think this is a better option for you.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool. I could see one day that you could do it, but there's a lot of fluff in there that I don't, that you probably don't need to see on a live stream, especially. Yeah. So anyway, I'll do my best, but at this stage, sorry, not a live stream. Another comment here is Sardinia.
Poso PWA, yeah.
Strong winds. Yeah. Okay. So
I mean, there's some really good options actually.
Yeah.
We got north coast of Colombia. We could also make some money, maybe.
Something through March.
Yeah, so there's definitely a few.
Yeah. And like, again, if I haven't mentioned it already, but wherever you are in your part of the world, if you have the inclination and time, try and start something local. Even if it's just with 10 people or 20 people, and you just start something. I mean, for example, the Defi wind, and that's, I think the first Defi, is it true that was it 20 people showed up? Is that true?
I really don't know.
Okay. So obviously, it can be a bit scary, you think looking into the future, but I think just getting something done locally is the
Peter Olsen says,
What's that?
Or get the Polish legend from Who Keeper in his mobile phone to
Oh God, I forgot about that. That was that guy's a hero, wasn't he?
South Africa from Tehran. I agree. I mean, South Africa, Big Bay or whatever on the front.
Oh yeah, South Africa.
That would be epic.
Perfect.
It really would. In fact, Cape Town, Meltboss or something could be just, well, maybe it's a bit gap, but yeah, there's definitely Cape Town, Sunset Beach.
Yep.
There's a few options right there.
Yeah.
Pretty epic.
Actually, on my YouTube channel, I've uploaded a lot of old vintage windsurf videos, and if I'd thought about it before, I should have found it. But there's videos on that channel with old wave slalom races in South Africa. It was a great location for that. Yeah. Shall we?
I mean, there are stuff. Go on, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, are we touching on the? Obviously, we've been just talking all about Slalom X. Are we also talking at all about the wave side of things at the Pozo?
I feel like the wave needs a separate podcast. I was just thinking how to change the title now, because we're gonna go all over the bloody place. And I think there's so much. There has been so much to talk about with the Slalom X because it's new. I might have had to change that thumbnail anyway.
Yeah, okay, that's great. What about another question I had for you, Benny, was there any discussion, because obviously a lot of the sailors are skilled on foiling and fin. Now, obviously this event didn't have the foil, it was just the fin. So was there much of a sense of this now that it's split up, if a lot of sailors are they still excited about the foil, or is there some kind of momentum? Yeah, okay. So
I think what's interesting is, and this is what we expected last year, was Pozo to be like it was this year, because this was normal Pozo. Still wasn't ballistic, crazy, but for slalom it was. So the guys that registered small fin gear, which there was a lot last year, they would have been on their fin gear even if foil had been allowed this year. They were over the max of what they would have been on their foil stuff. So if this wind we'd have had last year when they all had their foiling gear, we wouldn't have seen much foiling, because it was fin. It was for fins. That was the best choice of equipment. So interestingly, that might have changed things if this hadn't have happened. If it had happened the year before, and everyone was the fin still got it, but actually, as it happened, the fin just got pushed out so much last year. Then the obviously then Slalom X and all that sort of change of discipline and splitting them up came about because it kind of looked ominous for the fin. And as we've said lots of times in the channel, you cannot lose the fin. It is a different category altogether for me. And you can see there's a lot of people, most windsurfers still want to sail on the fin. Again, does it detract from the foil? No, but we have to have it at the top level represented, I think. And I think just looking at Pozo, it just proves why that is. The interest was definitely there. At one point on the live, I think it was over 2,000 people watching the Slalom X stuff. So, it was definitely interesting. It was well received. You can just see the comments here. A lot of people enjoying it. And it's kind of rebirthed it almost, I think. And like you said, some people going out the next day and trying to jump over boys. That's the sort of effect you need. You need to show it, and then it needs to motivate. And I think the more you showcase something at a top level, the more the interest comes from the lower down, people around the world. And that's realistically what you're trying to do. In an ideal world for the pro guys, they need to get bigger sponsors. And then this needs to be, really we need to sell the TV rights to an edited version, because let's be honest, nobody who doesn't watch windsurfing is tuning in live, or no one who's not interested in water sports or no interest at all. It's going to be a very niche product in terms of live stream. But what it needs to do is be seen by the right person who wants to take it that step further, because the product is there. And with money, everything can get better. With better stuff, everything can get better. People know that. It's not like you need to, like when I hear people saying, "Oh yeah, but if we did this and did this, someone else." It's there. The product's there. If you can't see it's there, you don't deserve to be in a job, because it's pretty obvious that the product's there. And everyone knows money, internet connection, stuff that can all be. Everything can get better. So but you still need that person with the interest.
Yeah, I'm a bit out of the loop with up to speed with all the slalom gear, but with the boards, they look to me like, were they almost a bit too wide for the conditions?
You remember they were on their 63 wide, something like that, which you do need a bit of width. But back in the day, for context, a lot of people using 53, 55 wide. Obviously, it's a different era, but you can imagine a narrower board like a Defi wind board, or something with a bit of shape in the bottom, which kind of eats the chop a bit more rather than, I would imagine these are production boards. They have to work everywhere. It's the same with custom, wave boards versus custom boards. Most production wave boards are amazing. They work in nearly every place around the world, but there are some spots that if you have a custom board for that exact spot, for that exact person, they could work better, because a production board has to be an all-rounder to appeal to a lot. So then, a usual normal production board will work really good in decent waves, in sloppy waves, depending on what you got. But if you bring on some slabby, crazy, I don't know, some mental wave, then a custom board's probably going to suit you better, for that type of wave. And I guess it's the same with slalom. Is a slalom board made for what we had in Pozo? Well, they managed it, but I'm pretty sure with something a bit smoother and more control and whatever, maybe they could go better. It didn't look like that when you're watching. You're still watching. Oh, wow, it's pretty impressive. But I think, they were on the limit, that's for sure.
And what about the heat numbers? Because, obviously it started off as 8-person heats, and then it eventually got to half fleets, or, sometimes, in the women's case, the full fleet. I mean, I personally preferred it when I saw more people on the water because there was just more opportunities for battles and closer racing. I mean, is that something that's going to become a bit more normalized?
I'll be honest, I was kind of against it at first because I thought maybe that battle, that fourth place battle, was not going to be as easy to see because it's further away from the front and you still got to cover the front and with with 2 drones maybe. But I was kind of, but actually what turned out to happen from what I could understand is that 6th place battle was pretty much 4th as well, because that 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th was also close. So it just made it more people went through and there was more people in that fight. And the main reason for doing that half fleet is when they did it with that amount of people, there was a few guys in the first level, they're just getting 1 heat. So they would get 1 heat, be knocked out by the top seeds, which would then go into the next heat. And then, so there was probably about 10 guys that were literally getting 1 heat every round and everyone else was getting 3. So you're like, well, we're going to be like really messing up these guys who are they're the ones that help build the fleet. You've got to give everyone the same stuff. And then when we did half fleet, these guys are going in the same, and they were way closer and making it through weirdly in that half fleet. I don't, work that out. I don't know, but it definitely seemed to help that as well. And then everyone was getting the same amount of heats because they would have 1 heat. If you qualified for the final, fine. If you didn't, you went in the runners up final, and everyone was getting 2. So at the same time, that worked out better for that amount of people. When we get more numbers, you can do the old system where it's seeded. And then people go against each other. We see different riders at the front, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I just think it was a bit better visual spectacle. And just, the beauty of the fin is when you're planing through the water, you've got the spray, you've got the trail from the white water, you've got the sails. And I just think it's a big part of the spectacle is just seeing all that. So when you get a few more sailors on the water, it just looks, I don't know, I just think it looks better.
I'll tell you what I also noticed, sometimes when we have the 4 go through, there's sometimes a big gap between 4th and 5th. So even if there is a problem, it's like, but they're so far ahead, it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
Whereas in 6th place, that didn't seem to happen as often for whatever reason. It really seemed like there was always the 7th guy there, and there seemed to be a better battle, which, like you say, there's more people in it, and maybe that's better. And a lot of people back home, by the looks of it as well, agreed with that visually. So I have to change my mind on what I thought, and I think you're right.
You've come around, Betty. The other thing was as well, just maybe we can quickly touch on, but the was the starts, because I feel like that's an area that needs to maybe be looked at or improved, because there was quite a few times where someone goes over the line early. And then, you're building up a momentum, and then it gets cut and you're waiting for 5 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever it is. The other issue was if you had 8-person heats and say 2 people were over the line early, all of a sudden you've got a 6-person heat, and it just cuts down the excitement level quite a lot, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden you've got a relatively small fleet. That's the other beauty of having a bigger fleet, because if 2 go over, well, you still got 10 or whatever.
The good thing is with the bigger fleet, you don't want to push the line. Not that you did before, but it makes it even more of a disadvantage, because let's say you make it to the final. The worst place you're going to get is 8th if you push the line. Sometimes it's worth the gamble. Whereas in the bigger fleet, the worst place you get is a 12th. And that 4 points is pretty big. So not that you want to be over the line, but having the bigger fleets made it definitely like, I better think twice about pushing as hard as I was. Again, we seem to have less when we had the bigger fleets, weirdly. That may be a coincidence, maybe not. Maybe that had something to do with it. But I can see, like, again, if we talk about money, that if, let's say, you did pie in the sky, what do you call pipe dreams? But if you did get a lot of money, you could have some electronical device which, has a reader on the mark which goes to the boat, and every rider has like a tag on it, and if they cross it before the time, it goes off and they have to come out the race, and if they don't come out the race, then there's a big penalty. There could be something like that, because it's obviously possible now. It would be, and we spoke to Frankie about this, who does a lot of the stuff in the Deafy Wind, and he said the problem is it's accurate to about this much or something like this, which, you're thinking at the start line, if everyone knows it, if offside was okay to this much, no one would really mind. They just go, okay, that's it. If that's the rule, Okay, fine. I think let's do it. And then you're not going to push hoping that that little gap is going to be your way or not your way. You would just realize that that's the parameters. And it would be super cool. Live stream would just be like instant, bang, that guy's over. We carry on racing and you expecting him to drop out. For the commentary, we'd know exactly who was over, because the problem with pulling him out at the end is you commentate the whole race. And then at the end, you're like, oh, he was actually disqualified. And you don't want the other guys to make a decision with a guy who's already been disqualified. You don't want him in the race. He's upsetting the race, basically.
Yeah. And look, there probably is, as you said, there would be the technology. I'm sure there are, I mean, when for example, organizing this event, I'm probably not going to use it because it's not going to work for what I need to do. But you can get these wristbands now that, say someone crosses, because with the event I'm doing, it's going to be a beach finish and you run up the beach and grab something. But you can get these wristbands where, you run up and then you just swipe it on something, and it gets registered. Yeah. And I looked into it, and they're pretty inexpensive. Like, you're talking $5 a wristband or something, or whatever. Like,
it's just a laser line or whatever it is, and once you cross this point, in theory. But again, with any sort of technology, it's never as seamless as you want it to be. And when you're going for a world title, if one band doesn't read that, or something happens for whatever reason, it's like, oh, someone loses the band, and then you're adding this other layer of shit that can go wrong. So you're like, well, we've got rid of one thing, which was slightly annoying, but at least it was kind of foolproof, to something now where we're relying on an inexpensive technology, which has got no backup. So this is the problem with it. But at some point, it's going to have to be introduced because, like you say, it didn't really work. But what I think is, again, for the live audience, that's annoying. But if it's as live for a TV program, that's really where the money is. It's not going to make any difference because it just goes cut out, So
no, that's fair point. Yeah, cool. Do you want to? You said at the start of the podcast, you said, we're talking about Slalom X and Sausage Gate. I thought you might as well just touch on that as well.
Sausage Gate, yes.
Sausage Gate is related to my Instagram post that I put up. Is that what you're referring to? Or?
Oh, no, I wasn't. But okay, let's talk about that.
Oh, okay. So I've discovered this week the what it's like to be almost cancelled. No, it certainly wasn't anything like that. My humor sometimes might touch a few nerves, and I put a post up on Instagram because Ben during this is actually,
let's be honest, let's just stop a minute. I was just setting you up because I thought it's going to get done anyway, because there was so much talk of sausage and Cedric Board going down on the sausage and like, who loves the sausage. So I just thought I would call it out before it happens, just because I know it was going to happen. The problem was the person I used to kind of make a joke about was just the first person to come into my head because she's so loud and whatever. So I said something like Sarah Keita loves the sausage, or, and Paul Van Bellen's going to do it on the live stream. And then he used that clip. And then it ended up being Sarah Keita, which was, in hindsight, as I even said it, I thought, why did I use her name? Because it wasn't a conscious thing. It was the first name that came into my head. And then I was like, I should have used someone else just because.
Well,
if it had been a bloke, you wouldn't have got any trouble, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting. Probably the reason you used Sarah Keita was because she was dominating a lot of the races, and it's just it's in your head, isn't it? You tend to remember the ones that are winning everything, and whatever. But no, it was just funny because I was watching the live stream, like a lot of like you guys listening here were doing, and as there was a period there where everyone was joking around about the sausage. Someone's gone down on the sausage, and it ended up being a big comedy thing. And then Ben goes, I can just see it now. Paul's going to make a stupid clip about the sausage. Of course, I couldn't help myself. And then he mentions, he's about Sarah Keita. So I make a clip, as if I'm listening to it and watch Sarah Keita. And I type in Google, does Sarah Keita like sausages? And then I end up with this picture of Sarah Keita with a mouthful of sausages, which okay, it's pretty stupid humor. Like I will put my hand up and guess, but it's also it was in context for this event and everything. But anyway, I put it out there, and some people thought I'd gone too far, and that's fair enough. I can understand that, but I took it down because it's
I'll be
it
honest,
made Sarah.
when I saw it, I actually genuinely thought you'd actually found a picture of her. I know that sounds ridiculous now because I sound like a big naive kid, but I am sometimes. I didn't actually think about it, but obviously Sarah Keane wasn't upset with it, but everyone else was, and then that made her feel awkward. So then that was the reason. Let's just put that to bed.
Yeah. Look, it's really a minor thing, but if for anyone who may have seen my post and wonder why it's not there, at least you know what happened. So it's kind of funny. And the other thing is that's interesting too is if anyone followed my Instagram, you might know me for just putting up humorous things, which sometimes some of them are funnier than others. But I'm actually enjoying the process of just bringing some silly or humor back, back into windsurfing. It's always been there, but from where I'm been sitting, windsurfing has been portrayed for quite a long time as a bit of a serious pursuit and almost a bit humorless sometimes because everyone's, just trying to be professional, that sort of stuff. And I've kind of come in as a bit of a class clown. And the reason I do it is because I just feel like to lighten up the mood in windsurfing and also just to remind ourselves why we do this. Like it's for fun.
You've got to remember, there is so many thinking a lot of the things that you post, but you post them, and you can tell that by the likes and the views. I mean, I had the one guy going mental at me, telling me to take the post down because it was homophobic of your winging guy doing the dance. And I had to explain to him it wasn't homophobic at all, but it was like I sometimes spend all my life telling people why it's funny and why it's not actually homophobic. Anyway, there we go. Like, come on. I think people know you. If they don't like you, they should just not follow you. It's the same with the podcast. If you don't like podcasts, us two talking, then probably best to tune into another podcast because you by now you must know what you're going to get. You're going to get a bit of what's the right word? Immature humor,
banter, especially when under your name, Benny, it says sausage lover on it.
Oh,
but
anyway, let's get back onto topic. Beach starts. When are we going to see the beach starts? When are we going to see the beach finishes? What venue could offer that? Well, I have some news because Fuerteventura is next. The problem we've got in recent time is it doesn't really work for beach starts at upwind, but I have heard maybe they're going to be further downwind this year, which could mean we could be beach finishing or beach starting, which could be pretty fun. And I don't think every rider is going to like it because it's not as easy as you think. I had my classic story from the Lancelin Ocean Classic when I had Steve Stratfold upwind of me looking at me about to carry my gear into the water. And he looked back and goes, "What are you doing? Got to put it on your head." I was like, and this is like a minute before the race starts. There's 100 and something riders all on the start line. I'm like, oh shit, okay. So he told me how to hold it, which is not how I normally hold it. And I put the freaking gear on my head, like I'm there and I'm ready. I'm like, and then they count down. I'm like, what the hell? And as I step forward, I pick my knee up. The knee goes into the fin. The fin stabs me. Ooh. As I stab my knee into the fin, it pushes the back of the board up, which pushes the nose down, which hits the beach. I then catapult over the freaking rig, and I'm lying, and everyone's running past me into the water. And I'm like, and it's one race, one chance. That's it. So I'm there, get to the water. I'm behind all these riders who can't get on. All the top guys have gone. And I'm like, you are frigging joking me. And I'm bleeding. I'm in Australia, and I'm just like, okay, just going to race anyway. So then I raced and had a great race because I was at the back. So I was just overtaking people the whole way through, which felt amazing. I didn't do amazingly well because I was so far back, but I had a great race. But there you go. So the beach start is an interesting one. The guys in Oz are absolute pros at it. I'm just trying to think, was it Dan Indale or someone? There's a few of them who are just amazing at it. They've got the longest legs in the world. They've got this technique where the rig's locked. Throw it in, jump on, gone. And you're like, Steve Allen was one of them as well. Like it's a real art, and I don't think some of these guys understand how there is like these little tips and stuff you can do. So will it make a difference in Furta? I would love to see it, I gotta say.
Oh, so what is, we're looking at beach darts and Fuerte, or
maybe it'll be beach finish. We don't know, but there is talk that it's not going to happen. But I have heard if they do it downwind, it could be a thing. And again, now, you know, oh, it's all a bit of fun. We change the course, but you've got to remember now we've got people with world titles on the line. And, you know, it goes from being really fun and we don't care to, okay, this is serious shit. I want to win this world title. You know, you don't want stuff to change because it might be out of your realm of comfort zone and someone could beat you. So, you know, I'm thinking in Furta, it might get a little bit more, see.
A little bit more serious.
And you got to remember, in Furta, it's foil and fin. So they will decide, I think, the discipline for the day. But that's also going to be difficult for the riders to go from one to the other, I would guess. Again, I don't know, but I can imagine there's some sort of psychological switch there between the disciplines.
What did the sailors think about the chicane in the end? Was that a
mixed, not as clear? Some people liked it, some people didn't. I think that's an interesting one for the viewer because you guys were watching it, and I have seen a lot more mixed about the chicane than the sausage. I thought the sausage went down better than the chicane, but then I also saw a lot of love for the chicane. So did you like the sort of the bear off speed run, or did you prefer the bottom turn one, or the more where you had to jibe twice? You know, because at that part of the race you had to do 2 really clean jibes, which is not easy. And, you know, interesting.
I was thinking maybe if they do a chicane, you just do a real shallow one where you just got to do like a bear off, like, you know, like just a little speed run bear off, and then you got to go back sort of into a broad reach again, that kind of thing, but just a shorter one, because they had this really long chicane, and then you sort of went downwind. They lost all their speed, and then. But the problem is with that,
and I've thought about this as well. To make that chicane fun, it would need to be 2 parallel chicanes, so you could both do the chicane without squeezing out. Because what happened was when we had that bear off one, I think Maciek was in a race with someone, if I remember rightly, maybe with Matteo or Mortifon. Yeah. But what happens is they're racing side by side, but then as they get to the buoy, it turns into single file, and then you lose the race. Whereas if you have 2 buoys, you know, one can go for the downwind, one can go for the upwind, and it's whoever does the chicane the fastest would have the play. But with the setup where it's 1 buoy, you instantly know the leader at the beginning because he's already ahead because it squeezes. So like it sounds stupid, but with the double jibe, there was much more room for overtaking. If you looked with the normal chicane, there was no overtaking. It just meant someone pulled away. Usually the guy was in the lead, which is the opposite of why it's there. What you don't want is it to benefit the leader. If anything, you want it to be a chance where the guy can catch up. And with the single buoy, like at the top, it didn't really work. But if you draw it on the paper, if you have it like dual slalom, where you have like a different line, but it's the same, then that actually could be better.
Yep. Duffer saying the chicane did involve tactical choices as well as technique. It led to more variety, discrimination between riders than I expected. Yeah. Well, the only thing, I guess the only thing I was thinking with the chicane too is you wanted to add to the spectacle, add to the battle, and not take away. You know, sometimes there'll be a battle, you know, they're burning along on the broad reach or whatever, and then they get to the chicane, and then that's it. The battle's ended because one person got off the plane, the other one, you know. And I guess that there's the skill and stuff, but that was the only thing I was thinking. You know, trying to not get obstacles that kill the battle.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree. I actually like the bear off if you can replicate exactly the same, but they don't have to use exactly the same line. And the only way I could think of it is if you had 2 buoys in and out. So, you know, you'd have an upwind line and a downwind line, and that would then they could both take the different one, and it would be whoever performed it better would have the advantage rather than the guy who got there first, which was kind of what happened with that single little sort of downwind or bear off that we did. When you did the double jibe, it was different because someone could jibe straight away. You know, if the first guy to the chicane when you did the double jibe went past it, then the other guy could jibe straight away. If they jibe straight away, the next guy could go further. So then you had this race, and that was kind of why it was chosen at the end.
Yeah. And look, hats off to the organizers for trying different things. I like that about the events. They were actually willing to you know, go beyond the box and see what else can be done. Nicholas was saying, we talked about it live. I would have liked to see more of the tight one, or maybe the mid one where you could choose between clue first and 2 jibes. Can we make it so that you can have many lines?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. To get many lines, you've got to have different starting points, because otherwise it just dictated by the guy that goes around first. And that's what, like I said, that's what was interesting. I didn't actually see that happening, but it is. So you would have to have different ways of starting and different ways of coming out at different points, which is a lot of boys to lay then. But it could be interesting.
Yeah. Is there any other? Could you think of any other obstacles that you could incorporate in a slalom race to add to it, or do you think, or for that matter, do you think to forget those obstacles and just go back to just slalom racing through wavy?
I'll be honest. I like the different courses. In an ideal world, let's say we'd had a couple of events already and they were in more experimental mode. I would like to have seen them try and put the finish going out through the bunker and then finish on the other side. You know, in an ideal world, that for me as a commentator, that would have been cool, because then we could have maybe tried to get the jibe right on the inside over the breaking waves. Not easy to do, and there was with so much to do, it was almost too much risk in case it didn't quite work, because we already lost one boy and stuff like this. So that would have been cool. I thought the jump, just a small little sausage, I thought that worked really well, but better than I thought. I thought that even like, not that I wanted people to crash on it, actually. I saw a picture of kids, like some people sent me some video of their kids going, yeah, just watching the sausage. The kids are not watching the racing, enjoying the racing, but they even a kid can understand that there's a thing in the water you have to jump over, and if you don't make it, you crash. Everyone loves a little crash as long as no one's injured. So I think that the sausage, people were saying they would like to see 2 of them. And again, if they're not so big or they're not as consequential, we don't need people to crash and eat it. But what we do need is it to cause a measure of speed and I got to slow because I've got to get the chop, and that just adds to the race. I think it's kind of cool. So I thought that was good. Like I said, for me, the best thing that could ever happen is we find a venue with waves, with small waves. This is easily enough. Like I think if you could have that every event, it's amazing. That's it. It's done. You don't need all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
But I did, for TV, for thumbnails, for advertising, that jump is amazing. You look at the normal pictures of slalom, to people who don't know, it's like, yeah, whatever, looks all right. But the video tells it for sure. But the stills is like, yeah, it looks all right, looks like a slalom race. But if you add waves in it and there's people, one out the water, one not, it already looks cool. If you have them jumping over the sausage, it looks epic, especially when there's a few of them at different angles. You already go, ooh, well, this looks interesting,
Yeah, well, that was the other thing. Do you think there should be more, more of these sausages?
Maybe. I don't think it's a bad thing personally, but again, I don't think you need to have them all the way through the course. I would have liked one personally, and I've said this from before we even talked about Slalom X, just normal slalom. I wanted one like 20 meters from the finish, because then it's never over till it's over. And there's nothing better for a commentator than having this, okay, so it's all wrapped up. But it's not.
Oh, it's not. Yeah.
They've still got to get over the last hurdle. And then if you're leading, maybe you're going to slow down a bit and make sure you get the right technique. But the guy in second, he's just going to hammer it and try and catch up on it. So for me, that sort of bit right near the end could be epic, and it doesn't need to be far from the finish. It wants to be almost just before. So if they crash, they're not making it over the finish. If they slow down, someone can catch them. And even for the battle for 6, for the battle for whatever, this is then all the way till the end. You know, the race is never over. And that's quite cool. That's why I quite like that waves and stuff on the last reach, because it adds that element of drama towards the end of the race, which then, like I said, if it's not over till the end, it's perfect.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, you just want that element at the end, don't you, where there's the unknown, what's going to happen. Yeah, any of those sorts of things is going to add to it.
Here we go. Claire, that's quite interesting.
What's that?
Matty Claire says, I like Amado's idea of having like 2 sausages 5 meters apart. So you have to choose. Oh, right. Well, I thought it was actually something different. Or you have to choose to do 1 big jump to jump them both, or 2 small hops. But I thought what it said is, I thought there was 1 bigger one. So like a much higher sausage, but it's 1 jump, or then 2 little short ones.
You have a choice.
Choose which one you wanted.
Yeah. But I guess I'm also thinking from an event organizer's point of view. Obviously, all these things are adding more complication to the event setup, isn't it? You know,
yeah. It's not easy, and there needs to be again. There will be a thing that comes out which, because let's be honest, we all want to jump over something when you windsurf, and it is one of those things, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be big. And the long jump aspect of it is kind of interesting. You know, if you make, you know, if they're quite small and non-consequential, but you have to get some distance, that's also different, because if you land on the second one, you get catapulted. So there is that choice, like Amado's saying, where you do the longer jump or the double jump.
The other thing I was thinking, I don't know, tell me if this is a bad idea, Ben, but sometimes, you know, you'd see someone go a bit further upwind, someone a bit further downwind, it would spread everybody out. What if you had set up 2, you know, in 1 or 2 of the legs, you just have a couple of buoys that actually narrows, and you just have to go in between them, you know, so you're forced to go, you know, that way it brings people together a bit more and creates a bit of a
the problem is with that, it sometimes makes it actually kills the race. Because some lines are faster than others. So if you have to take the same line, usually it benefits the guy in the lead, because you just get squashed behind them. So actually what you really want to do is just give everyone a chance to catch. So, and again, that goes with that first chicane where it was just the turn. I thought it would be great, but actually it turned out that it actually just benefited the winner, the leader, more. So it's like, you don't really want that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about something that's so narrow that it just creates a single file or anything, but just, you know, like something that might be, I don't know, 10, 15 meters apart, that just forces people that it's just another obstacle. You just have to go in between rather than
the problem is, like I said, the problem is that if you have a wide jibe and you're going really well down the bottom end, which could make a closer race, and you have to go upwind to go through this thing, it's like, well, it's not really gained us anything, I would say, because they have to go around the buoy anyway, so they're going to have to be at the end of the reach at the same point. So but it shouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, but if you know on your next leg there's a squeeze point you got to get through, then you're going to know, well, I can't do a wide jibe because I can't make it up there.
Yeah, but again, the wide jibe might be the bit that gets the guy behind to catch up. It could, you're right, it could work. It might make the first guy slower down, but ideally that's what you want. You want the first guy to have the question to make. And if you're leading, the chances of you hitting something flat out are different to whether you're behind and you see someone slowing down and you just go, right, this is my opportunity. So,
No, that's fair point. Fair point. What do you reckon? Have we?
No, man. I think we've covered the Slalom X at least. Like I said, I'll change the title of this one because it was going to talk about everything, but I thought maybe Slalom X might dominate, or we just go on about slalom too much.
The title was basically about the sausage, wasn't it? I thought that's what it was mainly.
Well, all about the love for the sausage.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. And again, thank you, Benny, for putting on a great commentating job once again, mate. You couldn't do it without you. The commentator is vital. I was watching it sometimes thinking, imagine you didn't have Ben commentating this and just watching without a commentator. It wouldn't be nearly as much fun.
It doesn't have to be me, but definitely a commentator makes a big difference for sure. You got to hype it up. In fact, I'm just going to put out a slalom race that we had here in Portugal. I've got to commentate on it, and it's me in the race, so that's really weird. because I'm going to
Oh, yeah.
commentate it as live, but I'm in the race, and it's going to be. I'm not sure it's going to make sense, but yeah, stay tuned to the channel. You have to let me know what you think, if it's worth me commentating on my own race.
Look forward to that, Benny. When's that coming out?
Well, Alfie was we've got like a 5-part series from this Portuguese Championships, which is basically me and Alfie Hart, who's been editing all the videos and stuff. You know, he was racing as well. So we've documented it. We've got the head cam on, we've got the mic on. We did have some issues at the beginning. We got a bit of a training day, no cam versus twin cam versus race cam, and all the bits about Alfie's first ever proper race. So it should be interesting. I hope it gets some good views. Let's see. But like I say, Alfie, because he went to Pozo, it's not finished, but it should be finished this week, maybe next week.
Yeah.
So tune in.
Look forward to it, Benny. All right. We'll see you guys next time, and hope you get some win wherever you are.
Yeah. Good.
See you guys.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Cars PWA, we're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.